So, Brian, we're just about catching our breath after a quite remarkable finish to that game that saw Manchester United beat West Ham 2-1. Mark Noble comes off the bench as a substitute. Pretty much the last kick of the game, a penalty kick for West Ham to rescue a draw, and his penalty is saved by David de Gea. A lot is going to be made of David Moyes' decision. Can you understand it?
Um, I don't really, because my feeling would have been you're better off the players on the pitch who have adapted to the pace of the game, and they're obviously they're well warmed up. The blood is flowing. Their bodies are completely au fait with what's going on. Whereas the lad's been sitting on the bench for most of the match, be it that he's the most experienced player in the club, probably the most experienced player in both clubs. I thought it was an odd one at the time, because I said to you it'll be Creswell to take it, I would think, or Yarmolenko. That would be my instinct. I mean, I would think Declan Rice is a good striker of the ball. Souček probably may have been the penalty taker at his previous club with Slavia Prague. So I don't know. I presume it's the history of Mark Noble being so reliable as a penalty taker for West Ham for so long. But he played very little last year and he didn't score any goals. Strange decision. But look, the goalkeeper made the save, and that's it, and saved 2 points for Manchester United. Big save, big decision, and not a particularly good penalty, it has to be said.
Big moment for David de Gea as well. First time in nearly 7 years he saved a penalty. Everyone remembers last year's Europa League final against Villarreal and couldn't keep any of them out. It feels as though after a lot of debate around his future, actually this has been a very good 5-6 weeks for him, and that he seems to have cemented himself back in as number one.
Yeah, I think that was made easier by the fact that Henderson wasn't available, because Henderson had been injured and ill. And you get a go, you get started in the first game, do okay, don't make any mistakes, and that happens with goalkeepers, that whether it's that they change club and they get their form back, or that they stay in the same club and wait on the opportunity to get back in. It's just with David de Gea, he's one of the highest paid players at the club. He's a goalkeeper with such a high reputation. He nearly went to Real Madrid a couple of years ago on the last day of the transfer window, when there seemed to be some mistake or problem with the paperwork, and he didn't go. So the feeling was that maybe that was the end of his time when Dean Henderson had taken over at the end of last season. But now it looks like he's re-established himself, and he hasn't made any errors this year. And I think today's penalty save will have given him a lot of confidence, and probably the players he's playing with as well. I think that's it'll be maybe something that they'll look to him with in better light now and say, well, he saved a penalty. I don't think that was a major criticism in the past, that he didn't save penalties. I think people recognise that he was often their best player and was player of the year in some of those years that they weren't doing too well. But I think today, a big 2 points, it's often said at the end of seasons, the goalkeeper got us 10 points or 12 points over the season. Sometimes that's a bit exaggerated, but today it's not exaggerated. He saved them 2 points today. They got 3. Had West Ham scored, it was only 1. Important 2 points, puts them level at the top with Liverpool.
That late drama all overshadowed what was quite an interesting storyline in itself, that Jesse Lingard comes back to West Ham. They were desperate to sign him. He made such an impact last season. He scores a fabulous late winner for Manchester United. Was it a deserved win for United on the 90 minutes?
I think so. Jesse Lingard, he came on at 72 minutes, and I remember, as it happened, I went, I'm sure West Ham are not too happy about him coming on against them, because they've seen how good of a player he was last year. I don't know if he would have been delighted to come on himself, because I think it was a bit of a redemption for his career, how he performed last year. 9 goals, I think it was 14 appearances. A big impact for West Ham. They wanted to sign him, they didn't get him. Did Manchester United to win the game? Deserve to win the game? I think so. I think they had over 60% possession. They had 11 corner kicks in the match. Fabianski was by far the busier goalkeeper. Manchester United had 17 attempts at goal. They had a few near penalties not given. We both felt that they should have had a penalty at 2-1 just before West Ham got there. So on all the significant criteria in the game, I think you'd have to say Manchester United were better. And for that reason, I'd say they deserved to win the game. But had they lost it, you would say it was their own failings, that they conceded too much space in the middle third of the field at times.
That's a conversation that we could have had after the first few games of this season. So many games of last season that you look at Manchester United and there's spells where nothing is quite happening for them, where, as you say, they are giving up acres of space in midfield.
And they don't dominate the game in there.
And they've so much attacking talent, though, it seems, that they're probably going to win the vast majority of games because there's so many talented players. One of them will always do something.
Yes, and you're looking at them maybe now saying, McTominay needs to become their outstanding midfield player, needs to be able to boss the game for them in there. Whether the combination with him and Fred or him and Matic is going to be good enough, you'd have to have question marks on that, on what we've seen up until now. But it's going to require that because the opposition have that quality in there. Chelsea have certainly shown it up to now with their, say, they've had 3 players up to now. Now they have another one with having signed Saul Niguez to compete with N'Golo Kante and Kovacic and Jorginho. They certainly have 4. Liverpool have certainly competition in there as well. And quality.
Is that too much of an excuse for Manchester United about the talent that they have in midfield, and that every team has areas where maybe they would like to have more, but they work a way around that? You look at, say, that Liverpool.
It's not always
midfield.
about having more, it's about having better, and is it good enough? I think Fred has good qualities, and he's energetic, gets around the pitch, generally doesn't score a goal, scored one recently. But is he going to dominate in that area as Manchester United at that level that they should have? Certainly the combination, when Pogba plays there, they often seem to be not good enough. And that's why, going back on his career, I look back when he played with Juventus, and he played on the left side of it was often a diamond with them, but Pirlo was at the base of it, and he ran the game. He just had that ability to take the ball off defenders. Merchisio was the other one that played in there with him, and I look at him at Manchester United, and often when he plays in the 2 against the better teams, when they're playing against the lesser teams, he's good enough, but not against the better teams. So, but look, they're in the position, 4 wins and a draw now. 3 away games, they've won 2, just about won the 2 games, beat Wolves, didn't play well at Southampton, draw with Southampton. So if they plough on as they are, 2 convincing home wins, it looks like it'll be good enough to keep them in contention. They've got to improve on their home record for sure. 6 home defeats last year. They've got to cut out the number of draws. Today could have quite easily been a draw. Wolves could have been quite easily a draw, but they weren't. They won both games. They just about got there today. A mistake at the end could have been costly, where Yarmolenko was allowed to pick up the ball out on the left, and that's part of it. To manage a game when you're ahead, as well as go to try and get the 3rd goal, can you manage to stop the opposition getting a chance? And they didn't, and it could have been costly, but their goalkeeper was good enough to rescue for them at the end.
What about Ronaldo's performance? Got his goal, and then the couple of incidents with the penalty kicks, where both were maybe penalties that throughout Ronaldo's career he would have got them.
He was appealing for penalties from the first half even, but look, I think his overall performance was great. He was involved in the game. I said that he won't be involved in the pressing game for Manchester United. In fact, today it didn't need him really to be involved in the pressing game, but his movement and his position play, and there seems to be a little bit of symmetry going on with himself and Bruno Fernandes, the 2 Portuguese players, even more than when they're in the international team together. There seems to be certainly a chemistry developing there that's very positive for Manchester United. He took the goal, touch on the goal, he got a bit of a break, comes back off the goalkeeper and puts it in the net. But when we think about those penalty incidents, penalties, non-penalty, it just shows you he's in the action, he's in the box. A lot of his touches in the game were outside the box, but he was making space for others to run into, for Greenwood to run into at times, Lingard when he come on late in the game. And it's hard to be in any way critical of his performance today, and that's 3 goals in his first 2 league games with a midweek goal as well, so it's a great start for him.
Modern day great goal scorer, and earlier today we had the sad news that one of the all-time great goal scorers, Jimmy Greaves, died at the age of 81. And I guess for a lot of younger people, he's part of almost a forgotten generation of football. When we talk about goal-scoring records, it's always Alan Shearer. Can Harry Kane catch Alan Shearer's Premier League record? Jimmy Greaves has more goals than all of them, the all-time top scorer in English top-flight history. John Giles, at every opportunity, brings him up when comparing him to even a Ronaldo, a Messi, in terms of how prolific he was. Your memories of watching him and how we should remember Jimmy Greaves.
Yeah, well, look, I think we have to respect John Giles' opinion because he played against him so frequently. He was in that era when Greaves was at the height of his brilliance. I mean, they'd be similar age. I mean, John Greaves would be a bit older than John, but both in their prime at that time. So if he says it, you have to believe it. I can't say that I can judge that. But what you look, if you look at the sheer statistics, and I think his statistics over such a long period of time, 266 goals for Spurs, 366 top flight goals, 47 international goals. I think it was in about 57 international games. It's extraordinary figures at a time when the pitches were dreadful and defenders were allowed kick lumps out of forwards. A different era, of course, different era in terms of organisation of the defences and the numbers of defenders that can be behind the ball. But still, you know, in the history of the game, in the history of the English game in particular, I think he was probably the outstanding goal scorer. I mean, you know, you can talk about Harry Kane now and Alan Shearer and Gary Lineker and other players from the past. Jeff Horst's numbers were brilliant. Bobby Smith, another Spurs player, I think he got 199 goals for Spurs. And go back to Dixie Dean, I think Dixie Dean's goals, the numbers and ratio were just behind Jimmy Greaves, Charlie Buchan going back even further. But Greaves' goals to games return was extraordinary. He was a great player, great goal scorer, wasn't a big man, didn't score many headed goals. He was fairly slight, but he could strengthen his body. He was a bit like Muller. He could turn defenders the edge of the box. I did see him. I was at the World Cup in 1966. I saw the second and third games in the group when he got hurt against France, and that put him out of the rest of the games. I think he was fit for the final, but Alf Ramsey chose to go with the combination that had been successful in the semi-final with Horst, Peters and Hunt in the front part of the pitch, Bobby Charlton as well. So we missed out on that, and that was a massive disappointment for him. And he only got his medal a few years ago. I think he suffered with illness in recent years. He had a very good career in TV with Ian St John, that immortal programme used to be on a Saturday preview of it would have been Division 1, I think, at that time. Was it Premier League? I think it was even
Division
Premier
1,
League.
yeah.
It was all Division 1. So, you know, he, by all accounts, and listening to people like David Platt talking about him today, he was a great guy, a really decent guy who was very popular around the game for his humility and his personality and his ability to make people laugh. But his goal scoring was just extraordinary, and you know, he was a hero of mine. So I'm sad to hear that Jimmy Greaves passed today, and I'm delighted that I was around to see him playing. I didn't understand the game as well as I did as I got a bit older, but anyway,
you knew he was good.
It didn't take much. It didn't take much to understand how brilliant he was, the consistency of his goal scoring, the excellence of it, the precision of it, the way he passed the ball into the net, more than probably any other player that I've ever seen. He had the ability to pass the ball into the net rather than rocket shots into the net.
Brian, great stuff as always. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Nathan. Good day.